2024 as Esther Aiken Day in the city of Ripon, where we celebrate her dedication, honor her legacy, and wish her happiness and fulfillment in all her future endeavors. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Ripon to be affixed this 14th of May, 2024. Could I have a motion to approve this proclamation?
I'll make a motion to approve this proclamation.
I'll second that motion.
Moved by Doug, seconded by Mark. Any discussion?
Just say, I actually didn't know that Esther was retiring, and I'm obviously old enough that I actually have never crossed the street, but it's going to be weird. It's because we've driven past her for like 15 years, and I think our son waves every single day. So it's going to be really weird not seeing her.
Doug?
I too had wondered about this, and I didn't catch the Matoma. And then I went down Matoma, and I saw that lady wasn't there. There was somebody else there now. And then it dawned on me who she was. So I don't know how many times over the years I have to pass down Matoma to go to Ripon High or the middle school or whatever, and she was always there waving and doing her quality job that she did. So I want to thank her.
Touchdown. Yeah. Obviously, very nice, kind words on your proclamation. We certainly appreciate that from all of us at the police department. We certainly honor Esther and all of her commitment towards our children and getting them safely to and from school for the past 21 years. Thank you very much. Okay. You want to say anything?
Is that, I'm sorry I got to retire. I'm going to miss all my wonderful kids, the people that wave to me all the time. And I like to give them a big smile and make them happy, because otherwise you see they're grumpy. This way I give them a smile, then they got to smile back. Otherwise, I'm going to miss everybody here, the officers, everybody, and my two best friends right here. They are so special to me. They like my family. And I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll just wait for the vote here and.
Oh, okay.
So,
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the mayoral proclamation declaring May 14th as Esther Aiken Day, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Congratulations. Today is
we'll get you a copy.
all right. At this time, I will be seeking a motion to convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and 19.851A, deliberating concerning a case which was the subject of any judicial or quasi-judicial trial or hearing before that governmental body. On the agenda for the closed session will be development agreement for Parkside Street Utility Extension and Housing Development, and a child sex offender child safety zone ordinance exemption request, as well as the Common Council will review the minutes from the closed session on April 9th, 2024. Could I get such a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the convening closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, subsection E1, subsection E.
A motion by Doug, second by Ellen. All those in favor of adjourning to close?
Is there discussion?
No.
We're going into closed session.
But my question would be, why isn't this typically at the end, closed session? Why is it moved up?
For scheduling reasons.
And for the record,
the council intends to reconvene in approximately half an hour, which would put reconvening into closed session about 8 o'clock.
Do we need a roll call vote to go into closed session?
Sure, because then you can put yourself on the record.
Adam?
Iverson?
Yes.
Schatzinger?
Yes.
Reamer?
Yes.
Gallup?
Yes.
Dankert?
Yes.
Skotsky?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Split?
Yes.
Motion carries.
So we will adjourn to closed session and anticipate coming back into open session at about 8 o'clock. For those We'll reconvene into open session, and we have roll call, please.
Iverson.
Here.
Schatzinger.
Here.
Bremer.
Here.
Gallops.
Here.
Denker.
Here.
Dotsky.
Here.
Sorensen.
Here.
Split.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Time is 8:41. At this time, I will be recusing myself and stepping down from running the meeting, turning it over to Ellen. Are you coming up, or?
Yeah.
All right.
You got the gavel.
I'd great to.
For the record, I'm assuming you're going to continue to sit as a council representative, reserving your right to vote. So the record should reflect that.
I do have a question. We'll do
You
the
don't need
hearing,
to read all that, no.
but do I do that?
After the open, the public hearing.
He doesn't do that.
No, you do that. You do that, finish that. Yep, you're finishing that topic area.
If you can't hear me, let me know and I'll pull that microphone closer. Good evening, esteemed members of the council and distinguished citizens of our community. I hereby call to order this public hearing on May 14th, 24 at 8:43 p.m. As president of the council, I welcome you all to this important gathering where your voices and insights play a vital role in shaping our collective future. Let us engage in constructive dialogue and thoughtful deliberation as we seek to address the matters at hand. Without further ado, I declare this public hearing officially open. The agenda item is for a certificate of appropriateness at 117 Watson Street, Grant Endeavors LLC. Is there any public comment regarding this matter? This is the opportunity for the public to be heard regarding the request for a certificate of appropriateness.
Theodore Grant. There's a public comment.
Okay.
So I come before you this evening with a project that I need a certificate of appropriateness for. There are 6 components to this project. Quick overview. It's on the application that you should have received. I'll go reverse order here because that's kind of the easiest way to go. First item is to repair and replace the roof on the building at 117 Watson Street. Next would be to replace storefront signage. Then replacing the top 3 courses of brick. So removing the top 3 courses and replacing with a stone cap. Tuck pointing and replacing damaged bricks on the front wall of the building. Replace 3 apartment windows on the north half of the building that will match the 3 on the south half, and then repaint all trim and windows on the second story. And then new facade openings for the retail space on the first floor. Just a quick history of where I am at in this process. I did present to the Historic Preservation Commission on April 3rd, 10th, and May 1st. And the only controversial part of this, according to the commission, is the placement of my front doors in the new retail facade openings. The reasons for moving the front doors on the left side, if you see in your packet as well as on the screen there. On the left side, this will line up the exterior door with the interior door to allow for better egress and ease of bringing long items into the building. On the right side, that will allow for ADA accessibility with a ramp, as well as an electric double door, which will allow better access for ADA accessibility, as well as better access for my customers that have large items that don't always fit through my single door. Also on the right side, it will allow for more usable floor space. The door in the middle eliminates more than 120 square feet of my retail space from being usable. So order of events, on April 3rd, are presented to the Historic Preservation Commission, an overall plan. At that meeting, the commission requested that I lower the kick plate from my original design of 36 inches. We agreed on 30 inches. Then they asked that I work with Craig T-Bon to correct the proportions of the rails and stiles of the facade opening, and increase the width of the landing on the left side to allow more room for the door swing and better access, and also bringing it closer or up to code, as the original plan had too narrow of a landing. At this meeting, the Historic Preservation Commission indicated that it would be approved once they saw these changes, but there was no firm vote on that. At April 10th, I represented the plan that you see before you now with the new kick plate height of 30 inches, corrected the proportions of the rails and stiles, and made a wider landing on the left side. The Historic Preservation Commission approved 5 of 6 items. The first 5 that I mentioned: replacing the roof, replacing the storefront signage, replacing the top 3 courses of bricks with a stone cap, tuck pointing and replacing damaged bricks on the front wall, and replacing the 3 apartment windows on the north half to match the south half, and repainting those trim. They then denied the facade openings by a vote of 4-2. At that meeting, the indication was that 2 of the members stated that they would likely never approve the doors were in any other location than in the center. And 2 members stated that they would likely or possibly approve with the building inspector's approval. On May 1st, I represented the same plan from April 10th with the building inspector's approval written on the application, and I believe she submitted a letter tonight because she was unable to attend tonight. At the May 1st meeting, the Historic Preservation Commission approved the same 5 items. And then the Historic Preservation Commission chair made a motion to deny the facade opening and waited 3 minutes for a second and received no second. At this May 1st meeting, throughout the 3 meetings, I should say, a member of the Historic Preservation Commission said that I do not need ADA access to my building because I am in a historical district and I have an exemption. In my opinion, this is a completely unacceptable statement and in today's society, a horrible approach. I do not want an exemption. I want to bring my historic building up to modern code while still maintaining a historical feel. We as a community should be encouraging accessibility in the entire city, including the downtown. At another time, a historic preservation member said that I should reuse the doors and windows I currently have because they are historic. Neither opening on my building is original or historic. The right side is from 1908. The left side is from 1963. Windows are falling out and being held in place with duct tape. 3 windows are already broken. The historic leaded glass is falling apart and is held together with caulk, and the doors are falling apart. I would not say that any of these components are safe, and none of them meet modern code. I fear one of these 7-foot by 8-foot panes of glass falling out and killing someone, as none of them are tempered glass. At another moment, a Historic Preservation Commission member said that the design manual requires me to design like my neighbors, interpreting that to mean direct next-door neighbors. Okay, do I want to have a stucco facade like my direct neighbor to the north? This approach would eventually leave the downtown with nothing but identical buildings. Historically, this would never have happened. Buildings were designed to suit the needs of the business that would be using them. They may have some similar features, but they would be designed to be functional. I argue that design like your neighbors should mean neighbors throughout downtown. I have here pictures of 20 storefronts in our downtown, if you feel like looking through, that have similar configurations, some old, some new. Well, not new, but newer. our very own historic downtown Ripon design manual on the first page of text states, "This design manual is not a set of standards or requirements for buildings in the downtown Ripon.
I don't know what it's like.
It is not a formula or specific solution. Its purpose is to present and illustrate flexible design components and guidelines to assist owners and contractors of new construction, renovation, or historic preservation projects in downtown. This design will bring the building up to modern code, allow for accessibilities for all customers, and a good portion of my customers have trouble climbing the one stair to get into my business, whether they're in wheelchairs or use walkers or just have trouble climbing a single stair. It returns more than 220 square feet of retail floor space and suits my business needs and likely the needs of any future business that would use the space, all while maintaining a historic feel. I'm happy to answer any questions on the design.
Are you ready to answer questions?
Yes.
Doug?
Okay, so, Mr. Grant, would you say then that this design here, does that increase visibility into your retail establishment? The new windows and the ADA accessible doors?
The new windows will absolutely increase visibility into my retail space. The current windows are 8 feet deep and have no functional purpose. In the wintertime, the glass is typically fogged up. The ADA accessibility will increase the ability for my current customer base and more to access my building. The double doors on the right side makes it so that some of my customers that bring in things that are too wide to fit through my single door and have to sit on the sidewalk for up to 8 hours waiting for a truck to pick them up, they could bring them inside, taking them off of the sidewalk, securing them from theft or rain or any number of things that could happen while they're sitting on the sidewalk.
So the doors on the right side, they're from what, from early 20th century?
Right side is 1908.
So that's not even into the 19th century.
The building, the masonry was built in 1861 or 63. There's an etching on one of the stones. I can't remember if 61 or 63. There were at least 2 fires in downtown. The current construction, I believe, to be from the late 1870s for the masonry and flooring.
But the buildings downtown weren't all built at the same time. They were built over a number of years, and there were fires, and they rebuilt them, and some of them share a similar style, the commercial 19th century, early 20th century commercial look, but not all the buildings are like that. And this is just a design manual. And in fact, if I look here about ingress or egress, it doesn't really say facade openings. It doesn't say yes or no. It just says you have to kind of keep it somewhat similar to that, but I'm kind of seeing that with this, in my opinion. I kind of see it like this. Plus, it's ADA accessible, and having a daughter that sometimes needs to hit that door, that button to open the door, I'm all for that. So I don't understand what the deal is here. I'm done, Council President.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? If not,
Maybe I'll.
I have a comment.
okay, hold on. Jolene first.
And I guess I just want to say, as we think about how the community is welcoming to all and considerate, I really commend trying to be ADA accessible. And it's not just ADA accessible, it's people with strollers and different things. And I think I commend you for thinking about that as we think about how is our community welcoming and accessible for all.
Steve and then John.
I was formerly on the committee that voted on that. And the reason that we voted the way we did was the state has if you talk to the State Historical Society, they want you to try to keep the buildings original. Matter of fact, if you change the facade of the front of the building, they state that they'd like them to be reverted back to how they looked in the beginning. I'm not saying wooden sidewalks and whatever. And you can have the stuff ADA accessible and still have your double doors, but they wanted the doors in the center of the building. When we started out with this, Sue Leahy was the one that was actually telling us that we were supposed to start out with that idea, that we'd be using the state code on that. The other thing that bothers me about this situation is we're going to be setting precedent. If you look, you'll see the ramp is not in line with the building where the doors are. So that means everybody that has a single step in the city of Ripon can put a ramp on a city sidewalk. And that's one of the reasons we voted no on that, is because we wanted that ramp either to be in line with the city or with the storefront. And I was removed from that committee because I voted no. I just
And
want you to let you know.
That's an opinion.
No, that's fact.
Okay. John?
Is it correct that after we close the public hearing, we'll still have discussion amongst?
There's a
Correct.
motion that follows
Correct,
after we
right.
close.
So this is still public hearing. Yeah,
Okay.
you-
As soon as Ted is done, I'd like to speak as a citizen.
You have to do that in the hearing.
Right.
You
So
have to
we're
do
not gonna
that in
close
the hearing.
He's intending to, is what he's
Yeah,
saying.
but I still want discussion after the hearing is
Well, we
closed,
have
but I
to.
want to speak during the hearing yet.
Oh, well, if you're
As soon
finished,
as Ted is done.
yeah.
I have one more question.
Okay.
I had gone to tour today, and so my point of, I really like the idea of being accessible more, and you had shown me that if the doors were staying in the middle, that you would have to bring the door back into your store more, and the door would have to swing out. So I mean, I guess what we're asking is, if we're making a statement that we want the door to stay in the middle, first of all, there's only one door, so you'd be widening it to be usable, and the doors would have to swing in more. I mean, you would be, what we're asking him to do is losing storefront space, correct?
Yes.
That's what we'd be asking you to do. So we're asking a business to make their space less usable when he's presenting a plan that makes it more usable. So I find, and again, you just agreed to that, they have to come in because otherwise the ramp would be too steep.
Yes, even in this configuration, the door is in a foot further than the current door. However, on the side, it still allows me to have open floor space next to the doors. If the door is in the center, the openings would be half the width of what's currently usable for retail space and wouldn't even be wide enough to have a legal aisle next to the window. So it would completely kill 9 to 10 feet of floor space.
I actually have a question for you, and then when John speaks as a citizen, it will be the same question.
Okay.
Okay? When you look at this, it's like a double wide, right? 2 buildings, double wide. So when I look at this, my brain is telling me that these doors have been moved to the middle. If you look at it as one business and not, it's like when we talk about units or we talk about buildings, this is one business. Can't we look at it as a business with having the doors brought into the middle on the 2 sides of the building?
My computer died.
What?
My computer died.
Okay. So
You have it in
that's
your
a question for you, and then when John speaks as a citizen, he can tell me if that's a goofy.
Yes, part of this design was to allow for this to look like one cohesive building. It was actually built as one at one time. It was legally 2 buildings, but it is now legally 1 building.
Okay.
It is 1 business, and I would like it to look like 1 business, therefore moving the doors to the center and being symmetrical to each other.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Mr. Grant? Yes, ma'am.
I guess one last question. So if this was not approved with your design, I guess what we would be stating is that for the sake of historic preservation, we would not want ADA accessibility, or we would not, we would be asking you, if you wanted then still to have that, to be losing usable space for your business. Isn't that kind of what's on the table here?
If I understand your question correctly, yes.
Yes, Mark?
Do you have any photographic evidence or any designs or anything that shows when the facade would have been rebuilt after the fire? I mean, if there's a facade from 1908 and there's building structure from 1860 something, and then clearly another facade built in 1960 or so, I mean, that's a decent amount of time. That's 40 years from 1860 something to 1908. Do we have any sort of indication of what the building would have been throughout that time period?
From pre-1908?
Yes.
I have only seen one picture from a steep angle, roughly a 45-degree angle, so it was taken probably from the intersection of Fond du Lac and Watson, which you can vaguely see where the placement of the door was in the center, but it was only inset maybe 2 feet. And there, at the time, was a wooden boardwalk and wooden steps going up to that door. The sidewalk was probably 4 feet lower than it currently is today. But as far as the layout, the door was in the center, but it was only inset 2 feet. And that wouldn't pass the design manual if we were treating it as law.
That design would also be structurally and significantly different than what is currently in many of the downtown buildings as they are right now as well.
Yes. And I will say that inside the facade openings, underneath the steel I-beams, there is nothing structural. So none of these changes would change the structure of the building. By definition of structure. I mean, it would be an expensive cosmetic change, but no structure is changing.
Are there any further questions for Mr. Grant? Yes, Dave?
I guess I'll throw my 2 cents worth in here. Not only are we doing this building, we're doing all the buildings. And whatever we do here is pretty much going to go for downtown Ripon. And, Steve and I have discussed this numerous occasions. We both love old buildings. We both have old houses. My take on this, you look at it, if we let you do this, what about the next person that comes in? Well, I look at it, if you don't give a little bit, we're not going to get people to come in here. There's buildings down there that are in pretty rough shape. Now, if we're going to be that strict and make it where you can't have a usable building, where someone can't come in and do something with it, they're just going to fall down. We need to encourage people to come downtown, buy the buildings, and I love what these guys have done. I mean, they made changes to this building that make it way nicer. You got to admit that. So it is a better, it just looks like an old building, and we want to keep that downtown. But we can't be so rigid that we're going to scare people off because they're not going to have a usable building. So we do have to have a little give and take here. So that, and that's where we disagree with it, but I would love for them to look like it was the 1900s, but you couldn't run a business out of them if they were like they were back then. They were too small. It was a completely different time. You cannot run a business like that now. So let's get as close as we can to it and make it work.
Thank you. Anything further for Mr. Grant? Yes, sir?
I would politely disagree with Dave on that. Consistency is key to a vibrant downtown. If you look at our upper second story, and if you look at the state of Wisconsin on how they describe the consistency of our Italianate style brick second floors, that's key. It's almost unheard of in other cities. So consistency down below on the facades with keeping a center opening that's been there forever, regardless of the depth. If it was 2 feet, 4 feet, that's a moot point. It's the center opening consistency is what we should be going for. But politely disagree with them.
Any further questions for Mr. Grant? Yes, Doug?
Mr. Grant, would you agree that no building is consistent with each other downtown? They're all different. The facades and their opening, and their facade openings, their windows, they all seem to be different to me.
There are similarities between some, but everyone is different.
Thank you.
In upper windows, facades, there's, even though close to the design manual, there are differences between each one.
Okay.
Any further questions for Mr. Grant? Thank you, Mr. Grant. Mr. Split.
John Split, 924 Liberty Street, owner of 211 Watson since 1993. After learning of this project at 117 Watson Street, and with the Main Street manager, Craig Tebon, not agreeing with the guidelines that he helped design, I'm completely disappointed and outraged of his decision. It goes completely against the intent of that program, and it should be looked into why he flipped on his decision. Many, many building owners over the years have followed the guidelines up to this point, and that's why we have a great downtown. These guidelines must be followed to protect our downtown. And one last point, the building inspector only approves codes, not designs. So when the inspector looks at something and says, sure, that's ADA compatible, this ramp is good, that's her job. She's not down there to look at the designs of the building. Thank you.
Oh, could you come back to the podium, please, and answer the question that I asked previously?
You'll have to tell me the question again.
It was with the fact that it's one business, and though it is two buildings, but that you can go between the buildings inside. It appears to my brain that the doors have moved toward the center of the business.
Typically, those probably were separate stores at one time. It was one store on the left, then there's a door that would go up to the second story, which separates, the two, and then the other one. So I would say bringing them together doesn't unify that as one building. It still should be two separate facades. And in my opinion, they should be separate in building materials and separate in looks. That's what separates the two buildings, even though they're one on the inside.
One business.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that kind of contradicts the idea of branding also. But, okay, I appreciate the answer.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Split?
As a citizen,
As a citizen, you'll have to go back to the podium because Mark has a question.
Yeah, when you talk about consistency in design, how far down does that go? Does that go to paint colors? Does that go to, in your mind, in looking or imagining what downtown could be? Just describe that maybe for me a little bit more.
Consistency may have been the wrong word. It would be more of a traditional facade. And the traditional facades were center entrance in probably about 4 feet, maybe at the most. That would be the consistency that I would be looking at.
Okay.
And that's what our design manual states, that they should be returned to an original traditional design.
So on that note, can I go get the photographic or record that was?
Sure.
It's not evidence, this is a trial.
And as I want to follow up with another question. Can you confirm these are guidelines? They are not standards. These are guidelines. So
The
it's not
manual
written in
says, yes,
stone.
the manual says guidelines. People previous have been told they need to do it this way. I'll give you an example. People have been told that the upper windows need to be filled into the arch. That's a guideline, but people have been forced to do it.
Steve, did you have, Steve
I wasn't-
had,
I think we're getting you far afield. He's
Yeah,
a
let's-
citizen
Yeah.
making a statement.
Yeah, no, I know.
He isn't here to testify as an expert.
Yeah.
He needs to have made his public statement, which he did during the public hearing. If you have questions later during discussion, he can speak to that. I don't know that as a citizen, he is the
Well,
expert witness here.
He espoused a very specific idea, and I would.
As a
like-
citizen.
As a citizen,
As
and
a
I would like
citizen.
to ask him what his thought was on one more example of something along that
All right,
line.
we can do one more question, but then during the discussion phase, he obviously sits in a position of chair of the historic preservation, and so that is really his role as a council representative to that body.
Okay, so again, I asked what you imagine downtown would look like, and you said you'd have, a traditional center entry, which I think is a very traditional way of building a storefront. But here we have Modernista, which has been redone on its facade recently. With that idea, this would not meet your opinion of a traditional design then?
That does not meet my opinion of a traditional design, but they did not change that angle. That storefront was there.
Yep.
They just built on top of what was already there. That was their application for that.
Okay.
So that, yes, that was, they didn't change any of the foundation or anything like that.
Okay.
okay, so at this time,
If there's nobody else
Yeah.
that
Well-
wants to speak during the public hearing.
yeah, public hearing stuff. We'll talk again about this more on the motion.
Sure.
Okay? All right. So, as president of the council, I'll now officially close this public hearing at 9:13 PM. And we'll move on to the agenda item of council action of certificate of appropriateness for 117 Watson Street Grant Endeavors LLC. I kind of am old-fashioned about how you run a meeting. I would like a motion and a second on the floor before discussion.
I'd like to make a motion. I gotta find my agenda. Okay, I'd like to make a motion. Council's action certificate of appropriateness for 117 Watson Street, Grand Endeavors LLC. Is that the correct one?
That sounds good. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mark will second. Now, discussion. Steve?
I have a question for John. We have a historic downtown that's, it's historic because it's accepted by the state like that, right? Okay. Are we going to, will this start the snowball that would make our downtown non-compliant with the state?
It won't make our downtown as an
But the
historic
store-
district non-contributing,
Yes.
but it could very well with what is proposed to be done to the storefront of 117 could be considered non-contributing because of the moving of the center entrances. And I would just like to state that I am chair of Ripon's Historic Preservation Commission, so
You know that, John.
Mark?
I know, but maybe
It's
somebody
important.
doesn't know.
I have a question. So if moving this current project's door would move us towards a status of non-historic district?
No.
No?
Not district, the structure itself, the 117 Watson,
Okay, so that's particular structure.
that particular structure.
In my mind, how does that how does that apply to any previous work that has been done? Say some of these older ones that were done in maybe 1960 or 1970, Sven's, this building has not been updated in a long time. And if you're saying that if he was to change, or the building owner was to change where this door was, that would move this building towards maybe a non-compliance or a non-conformity within the design guidelines, how can we say what the original was, because they've been changed over the years? And there's been fires, there's been the radio station or Collaborative Wellness's building here has very obviously had significant changes from what it would be as a traditional design. I guess my question is where's your tipping point for saying that something is traditional or not traditional, and how do you apply something equally to considerations that are so different? Because clearly to redesign something like this building in a traditional way would be a large structure change. It may not change the underlying, beams or something like that, but you're rebuilding a significant portion of this facade. So if to bring this towards something that is more compliant to a design guideline, that would be appropriate, but taking something that right now is towards a design guideline or kind of traditional styled, but altering it in a way that makes it more accessible while still keeping those details, things like woodwork, paint colors. I mean, I think paint colors is one of those things that most people don't realize, but when you have historically accurate paint colors, they're often very vibrant. They're different than what you might think of as historic, right? Because black and white photographs. So I guess what I'm getting at is, where's the tipping point to say that something that might be 50 or 60 years old now is not historic because we want it to look at 1908 or 1910 or 1920, but a lot of those buildings were 40 or 50 years old before 1910 or 1920. So why are we choosing one specific date in time when the structure has been existing for so long and has changes within it, versus saying, okay, our guidelines are piece by piece. We can, to Dave's point, we can look at these per application, and it would be the commission, the Historic Preservation Commission's job to look at them individually and approve it as going towards that traditional design or away from that traditional design. How or where are you making distinctions in design? If you're just doing it based on where a door is, that seems, I'm going to be quite blunt, that seems short-sighted. That seems very interesting to pick as the thing that would make it traditional or not, when there's so many other pieces that can make a building fit a style, like the Italianate style that you've said. So where would you lean with that, I guess? I know
First, I would say, right in our guidelines, it states, go to the Historical Society. There's thousands of pictures that you can use as reference. Now, in that particular one that you showed, if that person did not want to change that door from the left side of it, and he just wanted to fix up the building, probably, depending on his design, probably would get passed.
Okay.
The minute that you take and I'll just say a center entrance door, and you blow it out and you want to move doors in, that's where the problems start.
Okay.
Because it's a traditional facade was a center entrance.
The 1/3 division.
Yes,
center
exactly.
entrance. Okay.
So, again, if somebody wants to build upon what they have, just like Modernista, it was there, they just spruced it up. So there was no discussion on putting the door in the center.
Okay, Doug has a question.
I just have a question for you, John. What kind of style is 117 Watson Street? Is it Art Deco, Revival?
It's an Italianate. The brick above is Italianate.
Okay, so the replacing the roof, replace storefront signage, is that going to be kind of like it was back in the old days?
No, he had graphics that we approved, pending Sue Leahy's, there's certain square footage,
Okay,
so.
so replacing the 3 courses of bricks with a stone cap, tuck point, replace damaged bricks in the front wall of the building, replace 3 apartment windows on the north half to match the 3 on the south half. That was good.
That 5 out of the 6 passed.
So the whole thing is that new facade opening, pushing it more toward the center of the whole building.
Well, I still look at that building as 2 separate facades.
You're looking at it as
With
2 separate, but I am
storefronts.
I am seeing it as one building because he put them together legally.
Yes.
I think it was one building at one time, was it not?
But elevations are different,
But was it-
lintels are different in the front,
But
transom heights are different. They're 2
But
distinct
having an
buildings.
AD accessible access for his business to bring stuff in seems to me to be business friendly and help anybody who needs, even if you have a package to get in and you're able to walk in and use the door, hitting that button and having that door open with that package makes it easier and less likely you're going to stumble.
Absolutely, and there's no reason, we are not saying to Ted, he cannot make that center opening ADA accessible.
You just want
Nobody's
to
saying
move it
that.
over.
He's got, right now, that door's in the center, he's got probably a 6-inch step. If he needs to move that door back, but keeping it in the center, perfectly fine. We're not even thinking of denying that.
But there are other.
But just for the
guidelines.
record, there wasn't a final denial at the last meeting, just so we're clear as to what's being debated. You're speaking about we, and it's
Oh,
you,
yes.
it's you as chair that are making representations to the Common Council regarding your review of the guidelines or the policy or whatever they are
Yeah.
that you utilize, that you have historically done. I mean, you've been chair for a while.
Right.
So you're speaking as chair. You're not speaking on behalf of the body because the last action there was no motion on it. It failed for a second motion.
And
So the
may I ask
the commission passed 5 of the 6, and the one that's being debated, you have an opinion on, Steve has an opinion on, and you're able to express that as a council representative.
Yes.
We could be here all night
Well-
to talk about interpretation of you as a member or chair, or as Steve as a member or chair. The point of the story is we're at that stage where the Common Council
Right.
makes the decision because that is the law of the city of Ripon.
I will go to the manual and the ordinance, and I won't give you my opinion then. I will give you what it states. And first off, the motion on 410 was to approve.
I'm talking about the motion of 5-1. It failed.
But see, that's where I'm confused on that, because on 510, we voted it down 4-2. And I don't understand why it even came back to our commission, but it did. And I was confused, I admit, I was confused at our meeting why it came back.
But no
Because it was
final
voted.
action was taken by the commission,
Correct.
again, which is irrelevant to this evening because it belongs to the Common Council, and a public hearing is what you had to do if you didn't approve of the entire application, and that's why we're here this evening.
Okay.
That's the
So-
ordinance.
Reasons, guideline reasons, if you go to page 13, and I know you don't have it, but the traditional facade, and there is a drawing of a traditional facade on there. And there's a lot of words in here, but most revisions to storefront areas are superficial, leaving the structural integrity of the original storefront design intact. That's in the statement in the guidelines. The entry should be maintained and restored in its original location and configuration. If the original entry is gone, the new entry should be designed and placed considering traditional design themes and its relationship to the overall building facade and symmetry. So now we go to page 15 of the manual, storefront improvements. In considering improvements to the storefront, it is very important that the original opening be recognized and maintained. The remodeled storefront should be designed to fit inside the original opening and not extend beyond or in front of it. To Steve's point, the sidewalk, impinging on the sidewalk. Page 16, facade openings. Let's see. Storefront restoration should return the facade to its original character appropriate.
John, thank you for sharing those guidelines with it. I will entertain a motion to call the question. I'm asking.
I'll call the question.
Doug has moved to call the question. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, all those in favor of calling the
discussion?
no.
It's not debatable. The call, the question is not
No.
debatable.
Okay, thank you.
Is there,
But we got to vote on,
right,
it's not debatable. We got to vote on the call, the question.
can I ask them to vote?
You can do that.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
This is to call the question.
This is to
just so
call
you
the
know,
question.
Just so you know what you're voting on.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, we're going to do a roll call vote. This is to call the question.
Iverson,
Yes.
Schatzinger,
No.
Reamer,
No.
Gallops,
Yes.
Denkert,
Yes.
Kotsky,
No.
Sorensen,
Yes,
split.
No.
Motion ties 4-4.
then it fails. Okey dokey. More discussion? Are you finished reading your guidelines?
I can finish the guidelines. I would like to read a letter that we received from Joseph Lanik Zach. He is the Downtown Design Specialist, Wisconsin Main Street Program. Starting with the reconfiguration of the storefronts, I would require them to maintain the existing original configuration with the center entry in both cases. And then he goes on and says about ADA and some things like that. As for the storefront on the right, if they need a double door for their business, then I would make the argument that these two buildings are not suitable for them. At the very least, if they insist on the double door, I'd have them keep the existing storefront windows and center entrance where they are, but revise the angled windows at the entry recess to a more squared-off recess and put the double doors in the center, and that's where Ted could get his handicap accessibility.
We do have some questions, John.
Who is this?
Who is this?
Yeah.
Joseph, and it's Lawniczak, Downtown Design Specialist, Wisconsin Main Street Program. Craig T-Bon actually contacted them first, and then he sent the letter.
Thank you. Jolene, you
So
had a
it's-
question? Oh.
Well, first of all, I admire the Historic Preservation Commission for really trying to make sure that our businesses downtown are not going off in some strange direction, to not have some sense of, the historic value of what Ripon is about. So I think, nice job for asking questions. And my understanding, what David alluded to earlier, is that there was some design work that the business owner did. So it sounds like the business owner was willing to work with the Historic Preservation Commission. So I think that in of itself shows some, again, desire to really be thoughtful in this. I think that, one thing that I wanted to say that I also don't think we're thinking about when we think about historic downtowns. I mean, at the end of the day, look at this world that is increasingly going online. We cannot take for granted that we have a thriving downtown, and thank goodness for our downtown manager. And this is the perfect business that is a fusion of catering to the online business, the e-commerce business, but having a storefront downtown. And so I think that when we think about how do we bring a traditional business into the next century, what a beautiful example. And so my first question when I went and toured was, okay, if the big hangup is keeping him in the middle, why can't you? And again, I don't know if this person actually went inside the building, but from what I saw, and I'm not a design architecture person, is that where you go into the basement, and how it would have to be brought back the doors to, again, not have it to be too steep to meet code, he would be losing business space. It would run into the area of where the basement is. You would have this space where the windows are, and to go back to, he was saying that it's not very environmentally friendly. I think that we have a business owner willing to spend money to help also the business be more sustainable in the future, have probably better resale value. It will be more accessible, environmentally friendly, and again, it means that we have a business that can maintain strength in this new world of e-commerce. I mean, I don't know how we couldn't do what we could to do to maintain a strong, again, a historic feel, and I think you did the due diligence, I admire that, but making sure that this business can maintain what it is downtown and that for generations to come.
And Mark?
I would just like to state that it clearly states the design manual is not a set of standards or requirements for buildings in downtown Ripon, and we also are making an assumption that the existing opening is the original opening, and I don't think we can make that assumption with 100% confidence.
Doug?
I just like to say, I appreciate that the city of Ripon is rooted, has its roots in the past with, we have a house in the city owned by a former governor or secretary of the Wisconsin Territory.
Former governor of the territory.
Correct.
I grew up in the horse barn.
And we have the socialist commune of Ceresco, and we have lots of old houses and buildings that are well maintained. But being rooted in the past does not mean that we stay in the past, that we have to do move forward. So we have the opportunity here to help a business maintain its customer base and do some work with its roof and fix the windows back up the way they were before, and do some other historical work. In exchange, I think we should allow him to move his entry facade on the one side of the building over to give him more floor space, more window space, and I think that kind of fits in with the design manual. So yeah, it's not right in the center, and we can argue this all night, but honestly, I think it's fine the way he wants it.
Craig T-Bon is here, our Main Street manager. Could you come forward and help us out here as best you can?
Sure.
All right, so to be honest, the first conversation that I had with Ted after getting the letter from Joe Lonizak and I have been designing buildings for 30 years. Joe at the state and myself here and then with other communities. So I love the 117 Watson Street facade. I'm not going to deny that. But after meeting with Ted, the first question I asked him is, would you consider selling? Would you consider moving? No. That answer came quickly and rather defiantly. So after that, it's all a series of compromises. And we went to the Preservation Commission meeting. We talked about the kick plate heights. My biggest concern was the height of the 36-inch proposal, and we did get Ted to compromise down to 30 inches. We got Ted to change the bulkhead design, the kick plate design, to have something that's more decorative rather than just wainscot. So I think preservation is a series of compromises. We do have buildings downtown that have been renovated that do not fall into an 1880s look or an 1890s look or 1870s look. Good preservation can be 1950s. So you can pick the era that you want to restore your building, but we also have to work with businesses and keep them functional and profitable. And I think Ted's design can be reversed at some point in time.
Mark had a question for you.
What was the objection to the kick plate height?
By time you, so the 36-inch height is also another, that's above the foundation. as you're walking up the street, the foundation of the building is about 12 inches. So you would have about 48 inches of wall space before the windows start, which is just, it puts things in a different scale as you're walking up the street. It might sound trivial, but compromising even 6 inches, made a huge difference in that.
For a window.
For a sightline, correct.
Display. Okay. I also just want to note that kick plate design, I think, is one of the crucial factors that I look at when I look at buildings, because as you know, and you would know very well as well, that the ornamentation of buildings is one of the things that will set its period, and I agree with that, making sure a kick plate, the sills, and any decoration has to be appropriate. So I think that pushing back and making sure that that is appropriate was entirely well supported.
Sure. It was narrowing the columns. It was doing a number of things to make the proposal a little bit better.
Okay, Steve?
Question, Craig, are you okay with having ramps on the city sidewalks?
That's a code issue. So if Sue says it's okay, it's okay.
Does anyone else have questions for Craig while he's here? Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
John?
I have one more item. At 107 Watson Street, which is D&D Associates, the Historic Preservation Commission and Sue Leahy we're telling them that they need to replace those 3 windows in entirety with an arch top. They did put them in without a permit with square tops. That's a guideline that we have to replace with arch tops. My problem with this is if we're telling 107 Watson Street to follow the guidelines, and we're allowing 117 Watson Street does not have to follow the guidelines, somebody's going to be mad. Somebody's going to have a lawsuit. Then I can take it even farther. I worked with people years ago that spent a lot of money in the 200 block to put in arch top windows because we told them they had to. They may be mad also because they spent a lot of money putting in those arch tops. And if it's considered a guideline, then they spent money that they didn't have to spend. Next thing we'll have is people putting air conditioners up there. We're going to have squared off windows like we had in the 70s, small openings, because they're just guidelines. I need to know how we enforce, if we enforce one guideline, why aren't we enforcing another guideline?
And you and I have discussed this. There's a difference between standards and guidelines, and I'm a proponent of standards.
I would love this to be everything enforceable, because then there's no question, there's no gray area.
I say do it. Mark?
Noting that the design manual is not a set of standards or requirements for buildings in downtown Ripon, I motion that we approve the certificate of appropriate.
Already been motioned.
It's on the floor.
On the floor.
You want to call the question?
Call the question. We
I would
try
like
that
to call
again.
the question for the motion, please.
Okay, so we have to vote on that.
Second, is there a second to the
There a
motion?
second? Doug seconded it.
Let's vote on the motion
Let's do a
to call the
roll
question.
call.
Roll call.
That word I forgot.
Iverson,
Yes.
Schatzinger,
I don't think I'm ever going to vote for a call to question, no.
Reamer,
No.
Gallops,
Yes.
Denkert,
Yes.
Gotsky,
No.
Sorensen,
Yes,
Split.
No.
it fails. Okay,
What was the count?
4-4.
4-4.
And
Who wants
then
to
it-
talk now?
It failed?
It fails when you don't have a majority. It fails if you're tied.
Okay. So
The
then
call of the
there's-
question. The call of the question.
Yeah, the call
is all that
of the
was
question
voting on.
failed.
We're not voting on the topic at hand, and now we've had discussion for over, I don't know how long now.
No.
The call of the question, I do not understand not voting for it if you want to make a decision this evening. If you don't want to make a decision this evening, then move to table it, I guess.
No, we're not tabling
All right,
anything. We'll
so we need to
postpone.
move forward. We need to move forward.
No table. However, we do, if he wants to do this project, he needs time to hire contractors.
Yes, he does. So we need a vote.
Can we call the question again so that we can vote on it?
How about, how
we
about,
just second?
we have a second.
Oh.
So, well, let's take a roll call vote on the question.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody wants to talk anymore. We'll have to do a roll call vote on the motion,
On the motion proper,
which was made by Doug.
which is a yes vote, moves it forward, and the certificate of appropriateness is granted by the Common Council, which is the Common Council's purview.
Should have printed more roll call vote.
Go ahead.
Split.
No.
Sorensen.
Yes.
Gatsky.
Yes.
Denkert.
Yes.
Gallops.
Yes.
Reamer.
No.
Schatzinger.
Yes.
Iverson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you all.
We still got another work ahead.
Well done.
Well, I don't feel bad about that.
No, you tried.
Anybody need another break?
Kidding. Yeah. John doesn't need a break.
I'm gonna go back and get a bottle of water.
They're going to power, just like that.
There was a whole bunch there.
I'm gonna go left.
We're headed there.
Close.
I think you make those.
These. All right.
Well, we need,
Bugs running.
Support you. Mark will support you. I don't know about that.
Outdoor open container.
All right. All right, let's keep it moving. All right, so next item is outdoor open container entertainment event permit application. This is presented by Ripon Main Street. They have applied for a permit for the outdoor open container for the dates of June 7th, 14th, July 27th, August 16th.
26th.
Or sorry, July 26th, August 16th, and August 31st.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Dave, seconded by Mark. Any discussion on that motion?
I have a question. What's it for?
Ripon concert series.
Oh, just the concert series itself? Okay. No problem.
Been here, done that.
It's right in the application. It's right in the application.
Yeah, we got national recording first.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the outdoor open container entertainment event permit application for Ripon Main Street on the dates mentioned, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are approved. Thank you.
Craig.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Let's do it.
Next is temporary Class B license application for Ripon Fest, open outdoor container event permit application as well for the dates of June 28th through June 30th, 2024 at Barlow Park.
motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by John, seconded by Jonathan. Any discussion on that one?
They're in attendance. I have a question.
Oh.
I'm assuming that these little round circles are where alcohol is allowed.
If you'd like to step forward and answer the questions, we would appreciate it.
What are all these?
This is, it says car show.
Yeah,
Kids zone,
okay.
venue. This is where
So-
exactly everything is located.
Okay, but are you selling liquor in all of those spots?
It's right here in the beverage tent here, it's right here.
And it's gonna be just contained right there?
Correct, everything for family-wise is moved to the front of the park, so we can keep
Okay.
all that separate.
Yeah, no alcohol will be anywhere near the
Okay.
kids enter the carnival or anything.
This little dot right here, the square, that's where they're gonna serve the liquor.
Okay.
So you're not gonna allow liquor into the car show or anything?
Nope.
Good for you.
And that square was the one over the
Is there a
OW
wristband also?
in Barlow?
Yes.
Yes, wristbands.
There's a
Yep, you will have to have a wristband to have alcohol.
I don't know what you asked, but.
No, it's over closer to the B is what they
By the-
pointed
Yeah,
to.
it's by the B.
Okay, got
It's
it.
directly across from the Ripon Fest Pavilion.
Yeah, so the pavilion, the beverage tent will be directly across from that.
Okay. Thank you.
What's going to be in the pavilion?
The stage,
Oh, so,
the concerts, the bands will be.
Because usually the bands are down here.
Correct.
So you flipped it, okay.
Yep, we flipped it because that's actually up higher, so it will be able to be seen throughout the park.
Good thinking.
So,
Okay.
But there will be no alcohol in the carnival or the
No.
kids zone, anything like that. That'll all be in no zone.
Okay.
And how do you know that? Will it be some type of a
There'll be
barricade?
signs and.
signs and,
Yep,
yep,
throughout the whole
barricades.
park. And there's people that'll also pay attention. The security is also as
Yeah, we'll
well.
also have the sheriff's office, correct?
Yeah,
Fond du
I've
Lac
seen it.
Fond du Lac County will be there patrolling as well.
And we've gone 5 years with no incidents, so.
And you'll have a person for the beverage, the alcoholic beverages, you'll have someone who is in charge of that, who oversees everybody. And will they be wearing a vest or a shirt that signifies that?
Yep, a ribbon for sure, yep.
Okay.
Any further questions? Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for staying late.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All right.
We might want to wait till they, see if it passes. We waited this long.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the temporary Class B license application for Ripon Fest and the outdoor open container entertainment event permit application, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you.
All right, next item is a request to change City Hall hours between Memorial Day and Labor Day. This request is made by the administration office here, and it would just apply to the admin office. The request is for Monday through Thursday, going from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Current hours are Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m.
I move that we approve the request for change in City Hall hours this is just for the summer, right?
Yep, from Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Yep, and it's a good idea to do this.
A motion by Ellen, second by Steve. Any discussion?
Why does this have to come to us to set hours?
I feel comfortable with you all approving it and me not just making the decision because we are here to serve the public and obviously this is changing the hour,
Service.
so.
And he can blame you, yeah.
Blame the council, yeah.
It's assumed, but I assume you have a plan to publicize this out to the public.
Yeah, we'll let everybody know. It's a common thing, and frankly, if you look at, we've been doing statistics, there's not a lot of utilization of our time in the summers after that afternoon on Friday. Everybody else is already on vacation.
Are you still staying to 5 to set a good
We
example?
will if there are elections, if there's work to be done, we will stay when required,
And
obviously.
by we mean Neil.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving.
I think we should vote.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the change of City Hall hour request, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved.
Thank you.
Who seconded that? I'm sorry.
I did.
Steve.
Thank you.
All right, next item is pay application for Tiger Street Bridge Removal Project. This is pay application number 1, totaling $45,366.78.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
I got motion by John, second by Steve. Sorry, Mark. Any discussion on the pay application?
I'll just note that the project is on hold because of DNR review. Ultimately, we anticipate it moving forward soon in the summer. Egbert's doing this project as well as St. Wenceslas, so.
And for those of you who might not know, the bridge is out. The remaining work is reconstruction. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of approving pay application number 1 for the Tiger Street Bridge Removal Project, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Can we combine the two pay applications for the water tower?
Fine by me.
All right, so the next item is two pay applications for the Industrial Park Water Tower Rehabilitation Project. Pay applications number 1 and 2 totaling $55,423 and $136,895.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion by Dave, second by Mark that time.
Question? They're just doing this in sections, right? So you're going to give them money up to a certain point, and then when they finish the project, they'll get the other half?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's still quite a bit of dollars left on the contract after these two pay applications, so.
We've been told.
Adam, do you know about how far along they are on that project? Just as
They're going, look at it, every day. It is something magical.
that's what I was asking. They really got going quickly.
It is white now.
Actually, the fire department is doing drone practice out there. They get shooed away though, because apparently there are proprietary water tower things. Like you could, apparently.
Who knew?
But you could probably ask Coop to see the drone footage.
So they have finished all interior coatings. They are at exterior coatings. They did all the welding seams. They primed everything. They started putting another coat on. I would anticipate painting being done in the next week or two, depending on weather. And then later on in May here, the electricians will go in, put in the grid B stirrer and put in other lights and other things. So the electrician's kind of the final thing. So I'll try to let everybody know when it's done and lettered and everything. So
thank you.
Moving along well. Weather's been good.
Yeah.
Is there any further discussion on the water tower pay applications? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving Industrial Park Water Tower Rehabilitation Project pay applications 1 and 2, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved.
You okay?
It's really hot up there.
All right, next is an ordinance to amend section 9.01.040 beekeeping hives. Ellen, you kind of spearheaded this one.
Nicole Galicia contacted John and I on this, and she, with Adam's request, provided further information. And I think that this is just to broaden those folks who want to do beekeeping. It does allow folks with disabilities to have an easier access to beekeeping, and it's apparently easier on the bees, too.
I'll make a motion to approve amending
second.
ordinance 9.01.040.
Motion by Jonathan, second by Steve. Any discussion on this one?
I think it's fantastic it's being brought forward. We need to do all we can do to support the pollinators, to have a healthy environment.
Well, and in addition to that, citizens should contact their council people if they have a really good idea that helps us know. I mean, I didn't know that there were different things for bees, so I was very pleased that she had contacted us. So hopefully other folks who know things that we don't will let us know.
Agreed.
I personally have never heard of this new style of bee hive, which looks, if I were a beekeeper, looks something I would get.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote on the ordinance to amend section 9.01040.
Iverson?
Yes.
Split?
Yes.
Sorensen?
Yes.
Stenkert?
Yes.
Gotsky?
Yes.
Gallops?
Yes.
Reamer?
Yes.
Stotzinger?
Yes.
Motion carries.
That was confusing.
Going where?
All right. Next item, discussion on the memorandum of understanding between the City of Ripon and the Ripon Public Library. Adam, would you like to start this discussion?
So basically, and Doug Iverson obviously represents the Common Council on the library board. For the last, I would say, couple or few months, the library board has been reviewing a draft MOU between the city and the Ripon Public Library. Really, the reason behind this is to better establish the parameters of the building, maintenance activities, who's responsible for what, participation in financial, services that we provide, ensuring that planning is done, budget requests come in, all things, frankly, that have been an issue in the past. And ultimately, getting on the same page with the library from a planning perspective, from a financing perspective, et cetera, I just feel is important. So we drafted this. This is an example from the Department of Public Instruction, so this is not some crazy off-the-wall document. This is what they say is an appropriate document. So after reviewing it a few times, the library board did approve this document, and we wanted to put it on for discussion or review by the council for any other feedback prior to any vote or approval.
Looking for an action or a motion?
No, there's no motion, we're just discussing it. If there's anything you'd like to see changed, if you would just say, if you prefer to just move it for, recommendation to move it for the next meeting, we can put it on the next meeting. We don't necessarily need a vote for that. You can just direct me to do that, and then we can officially vote on it. I just wanted to provide you, as the council, an opportunity to make any changes or anything like that.
My only question is, are they sincere about this?
I don't even know. The last meeting we had, what was it, a week and a half ago, some of the board members weren't there, and we got the handbook done, we got this done, but not without some debate if you watch the video.
Well, debate is okay.
So, much to my protestations to the opposite, they took out a clause about fundraising, because they thought it made the board the chief fundraiser for the block prize to raise money for, apparently, for upkeep of the building. And I'm like, no, I don't think so, but okay. They took it out and they sent it to Adam, and I believe they told you they took out that little tiny clause, even though they fully recognized that it was a DPI document, that nothing else had really been added or done with it from our point.
What was the language on the fundraising that they removed?
So on the second page, what would it be? The 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth paragraph, the one, the city and library shall cooperate with respect to capital improvements, replacements, and repairs to buildings and grounds. It goes on to say, such alternative funding sources shall be included where applicable: fundraising, donations in kind or otherwise, grants, reserve, and restricted funding. So basically they remove fundraising. It is not worth getting bent over shape over.
Oh,
the
come
next
on.
word is donors, which you get through fundraising. So, and it's not meant to be saying that we expect, the intent of this is not to say to the library, go fundraise for your new roof. That's not the intention of this stuff. At the same time, there are things that they fundraise for, and there's an expectation at some point that some things that are there can be more easily fundraised for than a roof, right? So honestly, it's not worth the general, but.
If we could come to consensus as a council and move this to the next meeting for approval, because as someone who now trusts no one fiscally, sorry, I don't. I would like some time to think about this, given the lack of transparency in the past.
And all I will say is there have been documents and reports provided to the library and the library board and the library director from the city administrator's office and from the auditors. They have done strategic planning. They are going to RFP to put together a facilities master plan. They have designated some of their funds. There are still some things we're working on, but a lot of the issues that were previously outstanding and the auditors were bringing forward have been cleaned up, much to their credit. Obviously, we continue to see things. This document provides, in my opinion, at least a baseline expectation that, financials are reviewed and that they are providing the correct and complete data to the city financially, so we can make the best decisions, as well as planning documents so we can make the best decisions. Because right now, the relationship is one that seems more about, coming and asking for money than it is building a library and supporting a library.
Yeah, so
I think this does a good job of it, and they've done work to clean some things up. We've gotten to a point where we can actually present this because we're more comfortable with where they are today financially.
But how long have you been more comfortable with them? 2 months, 3 months?
I would say the library board approving this document is a sign that they are understanding of the issues and are willing to work with us.
Can we delay this?
It's a discussion.
Yeah, we're intending it to be delayed.
Can I ask what would be the value of delaying?
Oh, because we put it on for discussion. We did not put it on for action.
And I need to think about this as a former administrator in government. And I think y'all do a great job, but I get a little funny about money. And I don't like hidden money, and it's a trust issue.
So no action is required. We will bring it back at the next meeting.
But there are some things we are already doing, right? We are helping them mow their grass. We are taking a more active role. We've tried to help them along the way. This is at a point where we are trying to help, right? And this is a component of that.
I have no, I'm going to lose a word here. I have no problem with the city helping. I trust the city.
Is there any urgency?
There's absolutely no urgency. It took them 3-4 months. So.
Any further discussion on this item? Okay, we'll revisit that at the next meeting. All right, last item is a discussion on the city website calendar. This is brought by Councilmember Denkirk. Mark, if you'd like to start
Yeah, I'll
this.
keep this short to about 30 or 40 minutes. No, I just thought we should maybe get into a conversation with our city website contractor, or whoever does our city website, and maybe find a better format or some sort of plug-in or something that we can use to publish the city calendar, preferably in like a searchable, but also a way where you can, like, if there's an event that the city publishes with the news communications position, where you could like click on it and it will automatically add it to your phone calendar. All of those things exist. It might be difficult to implement depending on what the website is, but it's certainly a discussion that I think we should have with.
I think the chamber has that right now. Maybe we can partner with them.
Doug, but Mark, you wanted us to move away from the comforting beautiness of the current website that's we know is so ineffectual.
No.
But we understand it, we love it because it's clunky. You're asking us to move maybe into the mid-21st century.
We'll put a subfolder that says Doug Iverson, and it will have all 300,000 calendar events as blue links, and you can click on any which one that you want to click on, but the rest of us will get just a nice little box on the front page maybe.
When you put it like that, I think maybe we ought to discuss the website.
And I'll just add, we currently work with a company called Catalyst to host our website and host the entire platform, right? We do it in-house. It has been inherited over a period of time, so it is a large, complex website with a lot of information. It's hard to find. We have engaged Catalyst since Mary has been here and have been talking to them about how we improve these functions, as well as a role of the new position will be, auditing the website to ensure that it is efficient, because it is big. So we're working on it actively within my office to make improvements. we will be limited by the current contract and by the current technology. We are going to face some requirements over the next year or two with ADA compliance, so we are looking how to get ahead of that because there's been a big push for that, and local governments across the nation have not been actually following some ADA principles on websites. So that's coming as well. So we're engaging the platform that we use to see how we can better promote that sooner. So we're actively looking at it. It is a tall task to change that entire structure that we have. But we certainly understand the concerns and we're working toward making it more efficient.
And I would imagine that we are looking at, in the next couple of years, to comply with some of those requirements and wishes, that there'll be a budget line item that we'll want to look at. And
yeah, every year we have a budget to pay for everything. You know, it's not an insane amount of money, but it's a lot for, and any upgrade only ties you longer and gets higher in price, so.
Shop around, maybe.
It's
rough.
It's only a few options, really. You just want to be able to control it in-house. That's the whole, so. Don't want to have to email somebody to post something on the website.
Any more discussion on this topic? All right, project updates and staff reports. PD? Naomi, anything from you?
I wish I didn't, but I do. We have open book May 22nd from 11 to 1 by the telephone. If you would like to book an appointment, you can call 920-749-1995. The Board of Review is June 4th, which is a Tuesday, from 3 o'clock until 5 p.m. And just so you guys know, please take special notice to this. The next meeting for council is going to be Tuesday, May 28th, due to Memorial Day.
If we have a meeting, I will let you know if we have a meeting.
Okay.
But it'll be on the 28th if we have one.
And that's it.
Thank you. Adam?
You have my report. We have a couple committee meetings coming up, so just please be aware of that in the next day and then next week as well.
All right. It's late enough. I won't bore you with any comments. Any agenda items or comments from council?
My colleague John has said that he has noticed, and myself too, so I want to remind everyone in the city that do not blow lawn clippings into the road or on the sidewalk for two reasons. One is someone could slip, the car could, or someone on a bike, it's dangerous, but also the lawn clippings, phosphorus goes into our water system. And a reminder, we are in the watershed of the Green Lake area, and so please be mindful of where your lawn clippings go.
I've been waiting to find somebody that did it, to take a picture and then post it online, but I haven't. Every morning I'm looking.
Any other comments?
Post it on social media.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there a motion to adjourn? You? So, motion by Doug, second by Mark. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 10:09.
Wow.
Not a record.